Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today what we got for you is a pretty morbid topic. It's about the time that I almost died. So, I know like we live every day and it's like we could do anything. Like I could walk outside my front door and get in my truck and drive off, but if I would have like went to the bathroom before I walked out the front door and got in my truck to drive off, like a semi would hit me or something crazy. So like we could avoid death every single day and not even know it. But there was this one time back when I was like 5 years old that I almost freaking died. So let me know down below in the comments. Have you guys ever had like a crazy near-death experience? Let me know. I know it's a weird topic, but man, it's interesting, and I guess it allows me to get to know you guys a little better, as well as you guys to get to know me a little better. So if you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up. That's always greatly appreciated. We haven't done a live story in a little bit, so I'm going to enlighten you guys with this today, as well as in these live story videos I like to do on the channel. I love to just play miscellaneous games and throw that in the background as kind of some backdrop footage. Most of the time I play PS2 games and older games, but today I was actually playing a really cool game called Armored Warfare, and it came out a few years ago, and it's a really cool game. It's like a modern tank warfare, and I need to add that I was initially paid to promote this game, but I started playing it and it was pretty fun. So this is an ad, but at the same time I would recommend you guys to play the game because it was actually really fun, and I'm going to talk about it for a few moments. So you might have heard of the game World of Tanks before, and in an essence Armored Warfare is kind of like this, but it's more modern. It features more vehicles and tanks. If you guys are familiar with different kind of tanks, it features like the Abrams, the Challengers, the Leopards, and just more modern-esque tanks, which is pretty cool. And I know we have a lot of tank experts on the channel. The times that I've mentioned them in GTA, you guys are always killing me like, oh, that's a Panzer II, or that's a whatever kind of tank. I'm not too familiar with them. Those are just some of them off the top of my head that I kind of recognized being in Armored Warfare versus World of Tanks. So it's kind of got that same gameplay aspect to it, but on a whole nother level. The graphics are a lot better, I'd like to add. But one thing about these games that I will say is that you can't be a run and gun type player. I'm a run and gun type player. I found this out the hard way. The first time I was playing the game, and one of the first few matches I was in, I was literally just driving right behind enemy lines, and I was getting obliterated. I was getting annihilated, and even in one case, I committed suicide. I drove in the water and I drowned, and I was laughing at that. It was pretty funny. But there's so many different aspects to this game that make it really cool, and I'm also a casual gamer. Like outside of YouTube, I don't really play games too much, so I would consider myself a casual gamer. If you're into these kind of games, the strategic kind of stuff, this is probably going to be right up your alley. So, as I said before, you can't run a gun. I found that out the hard way. So, I started backtracking and playing a little more strategic and moving a little slow. And that's kind of hard for me to do because I just want to be up in the action. But it was pretty fun just playing through and figuring out different strategies for each scenario, because nothing is ever going to be the same, and you got to be quick thinking and think on your feet and just know, hey, we're going to take this route around the map, or we're going to flank the enemies this way. But there's so many different aspects to the game that you can learn about. One thing I also thought was really cool was this armor detection indicator, which is like you can just shoot the tanks, but if you zoom in, there's this little indicator, and it'll turn green on a certain part of the enemy tank that you can hit. And that means that it's probably going to be a pretty precise shot versus just shooting your ammo and these missiles and these rockets at enemies and just all this, just everything, just shooting the enemies. You can't just do that. Technically you can, but it won't be as effective. There's also a couple different game modes. There's PvE and PvP. PvE is player versus environment. That was my favorite game mode. It's basically you and 3 other people, so there's 4 of you guys going against the computers and being smart and strategic, and that's what I was having the most fun with and learning from. There's also a PvP, which is like 15 versus 15, I believe, and that's pretty fun as well, but I was more into the PvE, as well as just logging on every day. You get different kinds of loot and bonuses and things like that, so if that's your cup of tea, man, check it out. It's pretty cool. But as for the topic of the video, I know I strayed off a little bit, but I just wanted to promote the game in case you guys were into that. The time I almost died. I was 5 years old, and I can't remember the exact date. I've talked about it with my mom before. I think it was sometime in April. It was around Easter, and it had to be in either 2001 or 2002, one of those 2 years. So I was between 5, 6, and 7 years old. I was a youngster back then, and we're hanging out. It's later on in the afternoon. A lot of my family is left. We'd all come over for Easter, and I'm sitting here eating donut holes. I love donut holes. They're good. Glazed donut holes are probably my favorite. The blueberry ones are probably a close second. Or like if you just go to a donut shop and say, hey, I want a dozen donut holes. Give me just the mystery bag. That's what I call it, with all the different flavors in there, or the different kinds. But anyways, I was eating these donut holes. I'm just chilling, and out of nowhere, I start freaking choking, just and like, if you've ever seen it in the movies, like people choking and they're being dramatic, falling everywhere, knocking things over, that's real life. That's true. My life flashed before my eyes, like, and I can remember this. That's what's weird. I was so young, but I can remember this. I can close my eyes and play it back like a video. I started choking. I couldn't breathe, and started getting lightheaded. And this went on, I would say, for a good, like, probably 1 to 2 minutes, and it was probably the longest 1 to 2 minutes of my life. Like, if it happened now, that would be insane. So I was too little. Like, maybe they didn't know what the Heimlich maneuver. I don't know if that was as like prevalent as it is today back then, but I'm pretty sure it was. But I know for a fact I didn't get the Heimlich maneuver done on me, because either I was too small and they would like break some ribs, or what, I don't know. But I'm sitting here choking. I'm over here dying. My mom has told me that my face was literally blue. I've got this like water bottle. She said it's like probably as blue as that there. Like, you lose oxygen, you turn blue. That's what was happening to me. I couldn't talk, couldn't breathe, obviously. So what happened was, my stepdad at the time, who's actually my brother's dad, and my little brother wasn't born yet. But anyways, he was there, and he grabs his hand. He's got a big old man hand, sticks it down my throat. I remember they picked me up. They sat me on a counter. I was sitting on the kitchen counter, and all I remember is just this hand going down my throat. And this dude literally scooped this donut, his hand down my throat, and pulled this thing out. I know that's gross. That's weird describing it. That's what happened. That's the time I almost died. And I was fine after that, like, big gulp of air, gasp of air, whatever it is, and I was fine. But it's crazy because I've seen it many times happen in movies, like people choking and like, hitting the Heimlich, and then just the things go flying out of their mouth. But I had a grown man hand in my throat pulling out a donut hole. I'm not sure how I swallowed it whole. I don't remember that part. That's kind of blurry. I just remember sitting in the dining room eating and that happening. But according to my mom, I went into this like back bedroom, and I put the donut hole in my mouth, and I was bending over to get a toy. And when I did, and I came up and I went, and like I just sucked the whole freaking donut hole down my mouth, or down my throat. And that's how it happened. I'm not sure. She wasn't 100% sure neither. It was so long ago. But I remember vividly choking and not being able to breathe, and that's the craziest thing ever. So obviously back then I was a little kid, so the whole like almost dying part really didn't like play a part. Like, oh my God, I'm lucky to be alive, I'm extra thankful today. That didn't happen. I'm a little kid, but I think if that happened today, and I hope to God that never happens again, definitely things like that could be a wake-up call for some people. I'm real thankful for everything in my life, and like every day I wake up, I'm in good spirits. But for some people, man, that's all it takes to like change their life around completely. You could be the most depressed person in the world, that happens, and you realize like, dude, I was that close to dying, and it changes your perspective on everything. So unfortunately, there were no life lessons learned for me there. Maybe for like like my mom, maybe, I don't know, like, hey, my kid almost died, like, let's just, give him a hug today. That probably didn't happen. She's probably like gonna beat my butt for like, that's you almost died, like, ugh. But nonetheless, that's the time I almost died. If you guys have any crazy stories, let me know down below in the comments. I want to get to know you guys a little better. And what better way to do it than the time you almost died? I'm kidding. I know that's morbid. I'm sorry. But I'm just curious. Has anything like this ever happened to you? Whether it be some unfortunate events like a car crash. I mean, I hope nothing morbid has happened, and like you guys don't have any graphic stories like that, because I hate hearing about those. But unfortunately, the things do happen every day. So today's weird too. It's April 15th. This is a day that in 2009 my house burnt down, so like April 15th is a weird day for me. I always end up either talking about something bad or something bad has happened. It's also the day like Abe Lincoln got assassinated way back in the 1800s, so like this is a weird day in the world. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to see more life stories, let me know. I love talking, and I'd be more than happy to share my life with you guys. I'm a pretty open book, so I'm pretty open about everything. So if you have any questions, just ask them. I can either turn them into a topic in a video if you guys want, if it's a really cool question, or I can just reply to your comments. So with that said, give the video a thumbs up for the time I almost choked and died. You guys are probably like, heck yeah, I wish you would have. And if you did, well, man, I'm sorry. Sorry you don't like me. But subscribe, turn on notifications. That way you guys never miss out on another daily video game upload. And with that said, my name is Zach Cox. Thank you guys for stopping by. It's all the time we have for today. And I'll see you all in the next video.